When we think about training somebody to treat us or see us a certain type of way, it sounds like something that takes a really great effort that you have to be very intentional with, when in all reality, it's really not. Hey y'all, what's up? My name is Gabby if you are new here, and welcome back to my channel. So I remember a few years ago I saw this clip by Steve Harvey, and you know, they call Steve Harvey like the relationship guru or whatever. And in his little video, he was saying that women need to train men to teach them how they wanted to be treated. I was like, no ma'am, no sir, goodbye, I'm out. I think I had left a comment too, and I was like, no, nobody got time for all of that. Either you gonna come correct or you gonna leave. And the same could be said about anybody. You could think that when it comes to any type of relationship, a friend, a co-worker, a boss, a friend of a friend, just anything, that if they want a certain place in your life, that they're gonna come correct. But now, a few years later, knowing what I know, experiencing what I have experienced myself, and thinking back on my history, I understand what Steve Harvey was saying, and I understand, of course, where I was coming from. But I see now it's the way that the message is conveyed. His thing was, when a man does something, that you should treat them to let them know that they are doing something well. And then he made the similarity of men being dogs, saying that there's a reason why men are called dogs. When a dog does well, you give a dog a treat. And that just didn't sit right with me, because the way he was giving this information, it sounded like you are taking a blank canvas, or you're taking an untrained person or untrained animal, and you're slowly directing them and guiding them into understanding what's right and what's wrong when it comes to loving you and being around you and treating you and things like that. And I didn't like the idea of that, and I think that so many people are giving this message and they are relaying in that same sort of way, and I still don't agree with that. Where I am today, what I know today, what I've learned up to this point, the whole concept of training people how you want to be spoken to, how you want to be loved, how you want to be cared for, is missing the whole idea that we do this from the moment that we meet somebody, without even realizing that we're doing it subconsciously, without even thinking about it. People have their own judgments, people have their own personalities and their own ways, and whatever you give them, they're going to receive that and operate around you based on that. And I thought about this when I was talking to one of my friends recently. I was telling her about how a certain thing annoys me. She started laughing. We've known each other pretty much all our lives, and she was laughing and said, "You have always had thin patience." I thought it was so funny, because she and my brother used to do stuff to get under my skin, and they used to make me so mad. So it was funny thinking about it, because I really did have thin patience with them and people that just generally used to annoy me. But I thought even further into this, because what she may not know is that I'm working on that. I'm trying to not be so annoyed by people. I'm one of those people who loves people, but people just get on my nerves. And I don't want to be like that anymore, but she knows me to still be like that. And it just made me think about how in this process of change, when you're changing to no longer be something that you once were, people that you know or have been around you for forever have a hard time disconnecting from that. That's what they know. That's who they know you to be, because you've trained them without even trying to see you and accept you and know you for the person who you were at that time. When we think about training somebody to treat us or see us a certain type of way, it sounds like something that takes a really great effort that you have to be very intentional with, when in all reality, it's really not. I think it feels that way, and it appears to be that way when you are maybe in a transitional period of your life, when you're broken or you're unhealed, or you're treating new relationships, regardless of what type of relationship it is, based off of a previous relationship. Like if you had a bad relationship with a boss at your job for years, and then you get a new job, like this awesome job, and you try to present yourself a certain way so that your new boss won't have you messed up like the last boss did, is going to feel like you having to show up a certain way to keep this next person, to keep this next boss in check, when in reality if you were to go through something like that and you reflected on it and you grew and you became a new person, when you stepped into that next job, you would just be yourself, and people would know just how you carry yourself and how you present yourself, that they're not gonna play with you, that they're gonna respect you. Whether you are whole or healing or broken, however you approach people, however you interact with people and act and appear around people, that's what trains them. There are a lot of messages out here that are telling people that you have to speak certain things to get somebody to understand, or you gotta retain certain information. It's just so much stuff, like to the point where you just, oh, I need to take notes, I need to write this down. Like, you really don't even have to do that. Now sometimes you really do need to learn more about yourself and your communication style so that people know how to approach you. For example, the whole field of masculine and feminine energy, I believe that it's a dance, and there are times that both of us as men and women should be able to utilize both of these energies for certain things, but mostly rest in what God designed us to rest in, to be in, to operate out of. So if you are a woman who are wanting to be approached by a certain type of man, or to be addressed in a certain way by certain people, you're going to show up and express yourself in that feminine way. But you may have times and situations like at work, if you're a woman in a head role, where you have to utilize a little bit of your masculine because you are in a head role. And I don't think that's putting on a mask and trying to force yourself to get people to understand you and respect you. I think when you're aware of yourself and who you are, you know how you need to maneuver about certain situations, but at the end of the day, you're still you. It's so much easier when you're yourself and you know who you are, meaning there's so much more conflict and so much more of a battle if you are in a transitional period or a healing period. Okay, so we calling everything an era these days, right? So for a long time, I would say at least for a couple of years, I have been in my antisocial era. I have not been open to making new friends. I haven't wanted new friends. I have just been burned too many times. I was so deep into my people pleasing, and I was just hurting in too many parts of my life to even consider trying to make a new friend, make new friends, or you know, that whole game of social life. I had to put that part of my life on the back burner because I had deep work to do within myself. In the midst of me doing this work, I met a person. They were very forward in being my friend, so the people pleasing kicked in heavy, which was crazy because it was the worst, literally the worst time. It was the worst time at that time for me to be making a new friend, y'all. But I connected, you know, she's cool and everything. She would want to go on walks. Like, that's how we met, because we were going on a walk. I mentioned her in a few videos before. And the way I live my life is by routine. I try to do things that follow a routine, or at least close. And with her, she is a mom too. But her child was like 9 months at the time that I met her. And my son was 3 months. I already have my 7-year-old daughter too, so this is my second child. So motherhood for her was getting it in where it fits in, but motherhood for me was following a scheduled routine. So she would reach out to me like random times. Hey, you trying to go for a walk? Sometimes it would be like last minute, like 10 minutes till. So every time she would ask, like, I would be mad when it was like last minute like that, or the schedule was pinging around, but I would always say, yeah, I'll go. And then I'd go, and then, you know, we'd be talking, so I'd be out for like sometimes 2.5 hours. Then I'd finally get back, and I would be so frustrated with myself because I'm like, I really needed that time to do other things. And it was just a whole unraveling of negative emotion that came after that. And it just showed me that there was more that I needed to work with inside myself. But I say this to make the point that it's really hard for you to show up and, I guess, basically train people the way that it works best for you when you're still trying to figure out who you are. So I put myself in a predicament where she felt like it was okay. Like, it was okay for her to hit me up at any time and just be like, oh, you want to go walk? You know, in her head, she was probably thinking, oh, you know what? We about to go for a walk. Let me hit Gabby up and see if she want to come. She might be down. You know, that's probably what she was thinking in her head. And in my head, I'm just like, yo, what, like, what? Why would you hit me up right now and ask me, do I want to go for a walk right now? You don't know what I'm doing. But I had already trained her to be like that with me, and I wasn't even trying to train her to be like that with me. As I was continuing on in my healing journey and everything like that, discovering me, finding me, you know, all that good stuff, I went on a walk with her one other time, and she said, she was just telling me about something, and she was like, yeah, I was about to text you last night at like 10:30, and then I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna do that. And I was like, oh yeah, girl, like I would not have been up. And I do try to be asleep by that time, but even if I was up, I wouldn't have responded. Like, I have a cutoff time, okay? I do not respond to texts after a certain time of the night because multiple reasons, okay? And there has been times that she texted me super late, like 10 or something. Like, I'm talking about like, hey girl, how you been? Like, conversation. When she texts me, like at this time, if I was to respond, I would be letting her know this is okay with her. I can text her any time of day or night, and it's just not. So when it comes to training people, we're all doing it. It's not something that takes any special type of tactics or anything like that. When you are fully aware of who you are and what you want and your boundaries and what you are not going to tolerate, people, whether they like you or not, like, they can only respect it. Because what else are they going to do? They're going to stay or walk away, just period. I no longer consider myself a people pleaser. I do still have hiccups every now and again, but I address them and I move forward with myself. But when you are somebody who's dealing with something like that, in somebody else's eyes, you're somebody who always comes through, who's so nice and who's so sweet. Like, they just know you to be that person. Whatever people know you to be, whoever people know you to be, you've trained them to believe that about you. You've trained them to operate the certain ways that they do around you. I think that's why so many people, once they start elevating and moving forward in life, so many people that they thought they were cool with start dropping like flies. People start hitting them up, people start talking about them, just like all type of crazy stuff, because they were only around for that person who they thought you were, and the person that you are becoming does not fit with who they are or do not fit with how they operate. And I think about this too as a mother. I learned this when I was learning how to better communicate with my children and better manage my emotions. A lot of parents yell at their children. It's just an automatic thing, but children seem to respond when you yell. You can give a child 3 warnings in a nice sweet voice, and as soon as you start booming at them, they will do exactly what you say. But when it comes down to it, these kids are responding to when we yell because that's what we have trained them to do, to realize that we are serious once we give the evil eye, the death stare, the loud voice. That's what we have them accustomed to respond to. The way we show up, the way we behave is what trains people. And some people, for the way you are, for the way you show up, are untrainable people. So they go on somewhere else. And that's a good thing. Some people can be trained by you, but not in a good way. They can call you any time of the night for you to come through. They can call you anytime they need a ride. They can call you anytime they want their hair done. They can hit you up anytime they need to borrow some money. So it really could go either way. I see a lot of this talk of training somebody when it comes to a man and a woman, you know, in order to get this certain level of respect, love, care. But it's not just about that. It's about the people all around us. And when you're in this period of transition and growing and elevating and you're becoming somebody new, when they interact with you and you do something that's outside of what you normally do, they like, who is this? It's friction. When you are involving yourself with somebody who was never on your level anyway, who never fit with you anyway. Like in the workplace, some bosses will really try you, but hey, we all know that there's always at least one coworker in there that's like, oh no, he doesn't talk to me like that. Oh, she don't step to me like that. Because people are crazy, but deep down, like, they're not that crazy unless they're actually crazy. They know how far they can take it. They know how far that they can take things with you because it's likely that they've already dealt with people like you. We know how to operate around certain people. Like sailor mouths, as soon as they get around certain adults, it shuts all the way off. Like, it shuts down. The person that they're talking around has already trained them. You don't talk like that around me. We don't have to make it a big game when it comes to showing somebody how to treat us. I made a video a while ago about the power of walking away, and that is so powerful. And sometimes you may need to utilize that, especially when it's at a time when you're trying to do something positive in your life, and people just don't want to see that, because people don't always accept the change that you're doing. They don't want it because they like who you already are. And sometimes you have to leave that situation, and some people will actually really love you and care about you and be like, oh, he wasn't playing, or oh, she wasn't joking, and then they'll get it together and come back to you correct. But some people, they might still hurt that you walked away, but they're not going to really do nothing serious about it, like to come back in your life, because it was never really about it anyway. They was never really aligned with you anyway. I always thought the whole idea of training somebody was so toxic, and just seeing it or hearing it will always trigger something in me, because I've had a lot of discord in many different type of relationships I had. So all of the love and the energy that I put into certain friendships, relationships, bonds, and things like that, for them to end up how they ended up, for me to hear the message of train people how to treat you, it just turned me off, because I'm like, no, that's even more energy that you're wanting me to put in when I already know I put in enough. It doesn't have to be so much. Some of those people who have such like toxic friendships and toxic relationships, in reality, they already trained each other and it works. And some people get the short end of the stick and they get stuck in there. And that's when they need to find that power to walk away. It's like you have a portfolio, and every time you interact with them, you're adding something to the portfolio in their head. So they know what to do, what not to do, how far to take it, how far they can't. Like, they know how to operate with you. The training, it just comes with such a negative connotation, like, but you're adding to this portfolio, and they're gonna see and treat you and care for you and love you, or disrespect you, be disloyal to you, play you on the level that of what you taught them was okay, or that you will accept. I really feel like thinking about it this way will take a lot of pressure off of you when it comes to interacting with people, and let you know that at the end of the day, it's all about how you treat yourself and what you're willing to accept. Because as long as you're working on yourself and you putting in the work and you pouring in the love and you making sure that everything in you is top tier, you know, as possible where you are in life at that time, you don't have to worry about actively training somebody. It's going to happen regardless. You got to make sure that you are right within, so that the people who do not rock with the healthy, healed part of you will see that in you and they'll run away. So at the end of the day, sis, at the end of the day, bro, make sure that you're doing the inner work. You're gonna train people regardless. Let's make sure we walk in the right path of authenticity and who we are, to make sure we're training people properly. That's it for today's video. I really hope y'all enjoyed it. I love y'all so much, and into the next one, and peace and love.